Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This is episode 6 of our The Pod and the Page series, coming to you from the Last Highlight channel. Today, we're getting into a really profound book, I think. It's the Almanack of Naval Ravikant.
Yeah, it's definitely made waves, and it's not really a how-to guide in the traditional sense, is it? It's more like a collection of insights from Naval Ravikant, the entrepreneur, philosopher, investor guy.
Right.
And the core idea, the really big one, is that building wealth and finding like long-term happiness, they're not just things you're born lucky enough to have. He argues they're skills you can actually learn. The book gives you these principles to think about, not step-by-step instructions.
That's such a powerful reframe, isn't it? Changes how you even approach those goals. And speaking of powerful bits, there's this one quote, it's actually in our video thumbnail, that really stands out. Getting rich is about knowing what to do, who to do it with, and when to do it.
Yeah, that cuts right to it.
It really does. Yeah. And insights like that, those little golden nuggets, are exactly the kind of thing you want to capture and come back to later. Which actually brings me to something like the ReadWise app. It's super useful, especially if you read a lot of ebooks. You can just highlight stuff and it resurfaces it for you. Helps you actually engage with it more deeply. We put a link in the description if you want to check that out.
That's a neat tool for this kind of book, for sure, because it is full of those quotable moments. And that specific quote, it really sets the stage for what we're digging into today. Our plan is basically to unpack Naval's thinking on these two big areas, wealth and happiness, and importantly, how he sees them as, well, connected.
Okay, let's dive in. Starting with wealth. He kicks things off with a really fundamental distinction, one maybe most people don't consciously make. The difference between wealth, money, and status.
Exactly. So for Naval, wealth isn't just having money, it's having assets that earn while you sleep. Think businesses, investments, code, media, stuff that works for you. Money is just the transfer mechanism, right? It's how we move time and wealth around. It's like society's IOU.
And status.
Status is just your rank in the social hierarchy, where you fit in the pecking order. And here's the key insight. Creating wealth is a positive-sum game. You build something new, often everyone benefits, the pie gets bigger.
Okay.
But status games, there's zero sum. For you to go up, someone else often has to go down. It breeds negativity, comparison, envy, all that stuff. Naval says, basically, ignore those games.
Yeah, you see that play out everywhere, especially online. Okay, so if wealth is the game we should be playing, how do we actually create it? Naval lays out these 4 pillars. First one is specific knowledge.
Right, specific knowledge. This is a really interesting one. It's not the stuff you cram for in an exam. It's knowledge you can't really be trained for. It comes from pursuing what you're genuinely curious about, what you're passionate about. It feels like play to you, even if it looks like hard work to other people. Often technical, often creative.
Play to you, work to others. I love that framing. And Naval himself is a good example, right? He loved reading, loved tech, learned fast, got bored fast. And that led him straight into venture capital, where you have to get up to speed on new stuff constantly. It fit his specific knowledge perfectly. And the crucial part is, this kind of knowledge, it's hard to outsource, hard to automate.
Totally. And the internet just blows this wide open. It gives you so many more ways to find your niche, to build something authentic based on your unique combination of skills and interests. If you're truly being you, building something out of that, competition almost becomes irrelevant.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Okay, second pillar, accountability. What's the core idea there? Putting your name on things.
Pretty much. It's about taking business risks, but publicly, under your own name. It builds your reputation, your credibility. That's how you earn responsibility, equity, and leverage down the line. And he makes a good point that today, the downside, like actual financial ruin from failure, isn't always as catastrophic as we think, especially in supportive environments. Bankruptcy can be a fresh start. People forgive honest failures.
Interesting perspective on risk.
Yeah, so it should encourage more accountability, not less.
Right. Okay, pillar number 3, and this feels huge right now. Leverage. What does he mean, and how is it different today?
Yeah, leverage is like maybe the most critical piece for wealth creation in the modern era. He talks about 3 kinds. There's labor other people working for you. That's the oldest kind, can be messy. Then capital, using money to amplify your decisions. That dominated the last century.
And the new one.
The new one is permissionless leverage. This is code and media. Think software, apps, but also books, blogs, podcasts, videos. You create it once, and it can work for you, potentially reaching millions while you sleep. You don't need anyone's permission to start.
Wow.
And this is where it gets wild. In an age of leverage, your judgment matters way more than just how many hours you put in. Someone using code or media effectively can be thousands of times more productive than someone just working hard without leverage. The outputs are totally disconnected from the inputs.
Which leads perfectly into the fourth pillar, judgment. If leverage makes our actions so powerful, knowing what to do is everything. How does Naval define judgment?
He calls it knowing the long-term consequences of your actions. Simple but deep. In a highly leveraged world, one really good decision can have these massive nonlinear payoffs. So you need that foresight, that ability to see the second, third order effects.
It makes you think of someone like Warren Buffett, right? His whole empire is built on decades of demonstrated good judgment and integrity. People trust his judgment, not just his work ethic. Okay, so practically, how do we apply this? What's the mindset?
Well, one practical tip is to set a really high aspirational hourly rate for yourself, like super high. Then any task that you could outsource for less than that rate, you should probably do it or just ignore it. It forces you to value your time and focus on the high leverage stuff only you can do.
That's a tough discipline. He also talks a lot about playing long-term games, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Compound interest is the magic sauce in everything. Wealth, relationships, knowledge. It only works over time. So playing long-term games with long-term people builds that trust, that reputation that compounds and opens doors you couldn't even foresee.
And finding your path. He suggests taking real time with the big decisions.
Yeah, like where you live, who you're with, what you do. He says these are the highly dominating decisions. He suggests spending maybe a year or two really thinking these through early on because they set your whole trajectory. Don't just drift into them.
That's countercultural advice, for sure. And his take on retirement is interesting, too.
Yeah.
It's not about age.
Not at all. Retirement, for him, is when you stop sacrificing today for an imaginary tomorrow. You can get there by having enough money, sure, or by cutting your expenses way down, or the best way, by doing something you love so much it doesn't feel like work anymore.
Finding that thing.
And finally, patience. Just pure patience and persistence, he repeats. There are no get-rich-quick schemes. That's just someone else getting rich off you. Building real wealth is slow. It takes time. His mantra is impatience with actions, patience with results. Get stuff done, but then let it grow.
Impatience with actions, patience with results. I like that. Okay, so that's the wealth side, a really robust framework. But, we all know people with wealth who aren't happy. Which brings us to the second half of the almanac, learning happiness.
Yeah, and this might be even more radical for some people. The common idea is happiness is just luck, or maybe depends on your circumstances. Naval completely rejects that. He argues very strongly that happiness is a skill, like learning to eat well or exercise. It's something you practice and cultivate deliberately.
How does he define it now? I know his definition has shifted a bit.
His current thinking is that happiness is the default state. It's what's left when you remove the sense of something missing in your life. It's about the absence of desire for external things, finding that internal quiet, that contentment, which is, well, it's a tall order in our world, right?
Definitely. How do you even start?
It starts with understanding that reality itself is neutral. It just is. Reality has no judgments, he says. It's our interpretation that causes suffering or peace. We choose how we react. If you really internalize that happiness is a choice, you can start working on the skill part.
And he calls happiness a single-player game, which I find really helpful, unlike status or even money sometimes, which are multiplayer.
Exactly. He says envy is the enemy of happiness. Constantly comparing yourself is just poison, because you never want the whole package of someone else's life, their struggles, their fears, everything. You just cherry-pick the good parts you see. It's a losing game.
So how do you cultivate that internal game, that inner peace?
A big part is presence, being here, now. He points out how much time we spend lost in the past, regrets, shoulda, couldas, or lost in the future, anxieties, planning. Real happiness, he thinks, only happens in the present moment, which means you have to somehow quiet that monkey mind, that constant internal chatter.
Easier said than done. He seems to value peace even more than, ecstatic joy.
Yeah, he prioritizes peace. He sees anxiety as this constant nexting, always thinking, what's next? What should I be doing? That destroys peace. Calming the mind is the foundation.
Okay, and this connects to maybe his most challenging idea. Every desire is a chosen unhappiness. What does he mean by that? It sounds almost anti-ambition.
It does sound stark, yeah. But his point is that the act of desiring something implies you lack it right now. It creates a gap, a sense of incompletion, which is a form of suffering. He's not saying have no goals, but be extremely selective about your desires. Pick maybe one big one at a time consciously. Don't let your mind just constantly generate new cravings for external things.
So it's about conscious choice, not just suppressing everything. And he also warns that achieving success doesn't automatically bring happiness because of hedonic adaptation.
Right. We get used to new circumstances incredibly quickly. Get the promotion, buy the thing. The thrill fades fast. He has that great line. The problem with getting good at a game, you continue playing it long after you should have outgrown it. You need self-awareness to know when to step off the treadmill.
Okay, so if desire is tricky and success doesn't guarantee it, how do we actually build this skill of happiness?
Habits. It really comes down to building good habits and breaking bad ones. Very practical stuff. Like he mentions avoiding alcohol, sugar, managing news and social media intake, getting daily exercise. These aren't just physical health things. They directly impact your mental state, your baseline mood.
And who you surround yourself with matters too.
Hugely. That 5 chimps theory, you become like the people you spend the most time with. So consciously choose to be around positive, happy, supportive people. And maybe, gently distance yourself from chronic complainers or conflict-driven people.
Makes sense. Another concept he stresses is acceptance. Those 3 choices: change it, accept it, leave it.
Exactly. In any situation you don't like, those are your options. Change it if you can, leave it if you can. But if you can't change it and you can't leave it, the only path to peace is acceptance. Wishing things were different without taking action or accepting reality is just self-inflicted misery.
Letting go of the fight when the fight is futile.
Pretty much. And maybe the most radical acceptance practice he talks about is embracing the idea of death.
Whoa, okay. How does thinking about death lead to peace?
Well, confronting your own mortality, really sitting with the fact that this is finite, can paradoxically make life richer. You realize the small stuff doesn't matter so much. Chasing external validation or legacy seems less important when you know it all turns to dust eventually. It pushes you to value the now.
Puts things in perspective, for sure. So ultimately, it comes down to taking ownership.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Ultimately, you have to take responsibility, save yourself. No one else can do it for you. And believe that your mind can be changed. He says the mind is as malleable as the body. You can train it, recondition it.
And meditation is a key tool for that training. He calls it intermittent fasting for the mind.
Right. It's not about stopping thoughts initially, but becoming aware of them. Seeing how crazy and out of control the mind usually is. That awareness is the first step to gaining some distance, some control, some peace.
So the real superpower isn't changing the world, but changing yourself.
That's what he argues. The ability to change yourself, break old habits, build new ones, shift your perspective, that's the ultimate freedom. And it leads to the shift he talks about, from seeking freedom to do anything to seeking freedom from anger, freedom from expectations, freedom from your own reactive thoughts. That's the real prize.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive on the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. The big takeaway seems to be that both wealth and happiness, they aren't lottery tickets. They're skills you can actually cultivate.
Yeah, through understanding these core principles we talked about, adopting these mental models, and then crucially putting in the work through intentional habits over the long haul.
So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. True mastery, perhaps, isn't just about the accumulation of money or even knowledge. Maybe it's more about that continuous journey of self-discovery, of unlearning the stuff that holds you back so you can actually be present and find that peace no matter what's going on outside.
Beautifully put. It's an ongoing process, not a destination.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in this exploration today. If you found this discussion valuable, please do give the video a like. It really helps the channel. And subscribe to the last highlight so you don't miss the next episode in the Pod and the Page series.